Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today is the 2nd of August 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, some of the charts that we looked at yesterday, and just to see how everything's getting along. And there are a few developments, of course, as you probably are aware. So, but before we do look at the charts, before we jump in, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. There's always a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so also just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and also our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page here, where you can check out all the analysis that we do on a daily basis. So we do prepare a daily analysis in the morning. So one is getting ready right now, so getting prepared right now. So yep, feel free to check us out a little bit later here, in order, like I said, to have a read through our daily analysis. So right, for now, guys, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I'll touch on here is Brent Oil. Now, oil in general, of course, sold off yesterday heavily, and this is what I was talking about in my trader's tea time. And when I was discussing this one on trader's tea time, we were still hanging around here above this upside line. But what I was saying, that in order for us, let's say, to consider further declines, the downside, ideally, well, we would like to see not only a break below this upside line, but also a drop below this level right here near the 62.92 level, something like that, approximately there. And then we could target the area around the 61.82. But as you can see, this kind of sold off heavily and overshot way below. It kind of moved way below our target here, and actually traveled all the way towards the 60 barrier and tested that one. So let me just quickly put a mark here. There we go. So this is where it ended up being yesterday. So it tested the 60 mark and retraced back to the upside, and now it's currently holding on to this level here, our initial target near the 61.82. Now, looking at this picture, of course, all this doesn't look quite good for Brent Oil, but in a way, if we try to find something here, at least a possible, maybe a possible level to watch, a good level to watch out for, what you could do here is, of course, now the sentiment here is more to the downside. In a way, we could try to maybe draw a very tentative downside line here. Now, of course, don't focus on this one too much, but just to have something on your chart, maybe like a gauge here. So that's why even if, let's say, we could see a bit more correction here to the upside, still we will be very careful near the 62.58 zone, or 60 in a way, or near the 62.92 zone again. But to be honest, probably it wouldn't even, let's say, if it travels higher, I mean, this could be a difficult barrier for Brent Oil to overcome, I mean, given the current kind of bearish sentiment here. So that's why, guys, for now, even like I said, if we see a bit of correction here to the upside, this is what we're looking for. Possible maybe test of the 62.58 zone, 60, something like that, and this downside line, of course. If it holds, then we could see another leg of selling. But don't get me wrong, I mean, this might not even travel higher. It might start reversing right now, because looking at the 4-hour chart here on TradingView, and you can see that the previous 4-hour candle closed in a nice doji. So in a way, it could kind of signal a potential reversal sign. So we actually need to get rid of this level here. It's a bit in the way, or actually no, this is still somewhat of a good level to watch. So in a way, if we see a drop below the 61.40 zone, approximately around there. As you can see, previously it acted as a good area of support here back on the 19th of June, and also on the around the low of the 18th of July. So this, if we see a drop below this, then in a way we could consider a further slide lower. Initially, of course, we will target the psychological 60 level. We'll see how it's going to perform around there. We're not going to drag it to the downside for now. Like I said, first we want to see how this is going to perform. But if, like I said, if the if this, let's say, doesn't travel higher, doesn't go for more of that correction, we could see a drop to below the 61.40, and this is where, in a way, we could start examining the downside again. So these yesterday's lows. In terms of the upside on this one, well, I mean, a push above the downside line and a push above the 62.92 zone, or in a way you could round it up towards the 63 level. Then if we do get a push above that, then we will consider the higher levels. I mean, this week's higher levels, and those were near the 63.88, which, as you can see, previously acted as a good area of support. Now it could take the role of resistance, but then we could aim for the 200 EMA or this 64.50 level. So keep your eyes on that one. Now then, jumping into a few pairs now very quickly. So AUDJPY, of course, as you probably are aware, we yesterday the market sold off. I mean, the yen buying increased, so basically everybody was started jumping into safe havens. I mean, the reason for that was Trump, and with his idea of imposing tariffs, or not an idea but intent to impose tariffs on China's remaining imports. So for now, of course, I mean, you can see the picture of what's happening here. So initially, when we were still trading around here, I was saying that we may see a slide lower here. We did see that slide, and we did travel all the way here towards the 74.44 zone. But as you can see, yesterday, like I said, it sold off heavily. It even dropped below the this level right here, the lowest point of June, near the 73.91. Now, just to show you where the pair is right now, we need to jump into a daily chart on this one. As you can see, still we are aiming for this this little, well, I wouldn't say little, but this spike to the downside that we had on the 2nd of January, this flash crash, and we're still far away from there, because that low is near the 70.66 level. But of course, if this continues like this, then yep, we could see further declines here. The only thing is that what you could do here is, if we try to find a level here in between where the price is right now, or the rate is right now, and where this January low, then we need to scroll back all the way to the lowest point of 2016, and that is near, let me just quickly put this one on the chart, and that is near this level right here, near the 75.35. There we go, finally. So near this level here, this is where we're going to be 72.30 something, 32, something like that, approximately around there, guys. You check your charts yourselves, because like I said, this is the lowest point of 2016. So it will be interesting to see if we actually can continue traveling towards that area. It's not far where the pair is right now, so in a way, if we see a bit of correction here to the upside, we could see then maybe another slide towards this 72.31 zone. There we go, finally managed to get this one right. So the 72.31 level, this is going to be our target for now. Of course, slightly below that, we do have that the low of January 2nd, but the first probably good level to watch is the 72.31. So keep your eyes on that one, guys. In terms of the upside here, well, if we jump back into the 4-hour chart, to be honest, it's very difficult to talk about the upside here, because in a way, what we could do here now is draw something like this. So we could draw a downside resistance line here taken from the high of the 23rd of July, and of course this line looks quite interesting. So in a way, in order for us, let's say, to get comfortable with higher levels, ideally a push back above the 74.45 zone, something like that, could do the trick for the bulls, and we could see this one traveling to the upside. So for now, be very careful. Any move kind of higher here could be seen as a temporary correction, even if we see a long one here. As long as it stays below the downside line here, we will remain bearish. EURJPY, I talked about this one several times this week, and this is what I was talking about, and yeah, I talked about this one yesterday as well, because we started breaking, and during my tea time, we saw that already the pair broke below this key area of support near the 120 zone, and initially I was kind of hoping, to be honest, that we could see maybe a bit of a correction, maybe back to the 120 zone, but that never happened. So the market got spooked, and you can see that how sharply this all fell, and this went traveling all the way towards one of our targets here near the 118.66, and I've mentioned that level as well. You can see that of course we did overshoot it, but you can see that it continues somehow to hold the rate from kind of dropping lower. So let's see if it can continue doing that. Of course, in a way, don't get me wrong, some of you probably are expecting maybe a bit of a correction here. The only thing is that be very careful, guys, here today. Of course, we do have an eventful day. We do have the NFPs, US NFPs, so that's going to be on the radar today as well, and of course the ongoing China US trade talks, so, or should I say trade fight. So for now, guys, like I said, of course it is quite oversold. We may see maybe a small correction back to the upside here. Looking at today's, for example, pivots, we even let's say if it decides to travel all the way here, if it struggles to push back above the 119.50, well, I mean, this could be a nice area for another short here. Like I said, if it struggles to push above this pivot, then we could see another leg of selling. But again, to be honest, I mean, in a way, be very careful, because if this drops again below the 118.65 zone, 65 zone, something like that, then in a way we could consider first we could consider a move towards the S1, which is around the 118.32, 30 zone, something like that. And then we could maybe see that little rebound, because like I said, at this point in time, it is a very tricky one. I mean, maybe there's some buyers who are trying to step in here, maybe capture that little correction here. So but again, like I said, be very careful, because the correction might come a little bit later, so keep your eyes on that one. In terms of the upside here, well, I mean, ideally we would like to see this one pushing back above the 120 kind of before at least we could consider slightly higher levels again. USDJPY, very quickly on this one, I do have a few pairs to run through until I run out of time. USDJPY also took a major hit, broke below some of these levels that I spoke about in one of my videos. Of course, it broke below this 108.37, and yep, traveled further down and found good support. And this is where I need to kind of adjust this a little bit, because one of the levels that I had here was the 106.73, 74, something like that, and that area marks the low of the first, of course, the 25th of June, but then the low of the 3rd of January. So this basically level here is still a nice important one to watch, the 106.73, but of course there are some barriers here. I mean, again, also this pair is quite oversold, but to be honest, I mean, the current risk sentiment is it's a risk off sentiment right now, so that's why there is an increased yen buying, and we could see this one traveling further down a little bit. But then again, if it continues, let's say, stalling here, if it does nothing up until NFPs, this is where you should be very careful, because we might see a blow up here after the NFP figures. So keep your eyes on this one. It's a very, like I said, for now, it's a what you could do here in a way is keep keep monitoring this little level here, the 107 zone. If we see a drop below this, this could increase the chances for a slide towards the 106.73-74 zone, the one that I've just mentioned. But if this, let's say, decides to retrace back up, now for us to get comfortable with higher levels, well, to be honest, ideally we would like to see a push back above the 108 zone here before kind of examining the upside, again, at least in the short run. But like I said, for now the pair is very vulnerable, and we could see further declines. In terms of the correction, I mean, yes, of course it could correct here, but the only thing is that at this point in time, this current situation, it's a bit of a tricky one to find out where exactly will this correct to. So that's why we're just going to stick to this 107 zone. If we see a drop below this, then yeah, we will continue further down up until the 106.74, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do after. Jumping into GBPCHF very quickly, of course, this got sold off as well. Yesterday I talked about this pair as well, also in one of my videos, and we were still hanging around above the 1.20 zone, and I said that if we see a drop below this, then in a way we could target areas below the 1.20. We could aim for the 1.1913 zone here, which and let me show you what that level was in the past. If this probably I'll need to jump into a daily chart on this one. Yep, definitely. So the 1.19 and 13 level, that's basically the low of the 31st of October 2016. So keep your eyes on this one. Like I said, we could see this one continuing to drift lower. If this holds, then we could see maybe a small rebound and a correction back to the upside. But again, for now, this is very tricky because CHF is also one of the safe havens. So keep your eyes on this one. So it could have an increased buying activity here on the CHF, and which could bring GBPCHF to the downside. GBPUSD very quickly on this one, daily chart. Looking at this daily chart here, okay, of course you can see that it continues to balance above the 1.21 zone, so that's where we're keeping a close eye on. But to be honest, what we could do here is, just for that better protection, keep your eyes on the low of yesterday, which was near the 1.2080. so if we see a drop below the 1.2080, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and well, one of the levels that we'll have to aim for will be well below here. And that's initially we will target the low of the 13th of January. Sorry, the low of the 12th of January, actually, or is it 13th of January 2017. There we go, and that's near the 1.1990. Now this is going to be below the psychological 120 level, so this is going to be quite interesting to see, because as you can see currently the pair is balancing at the lows of March, the lowest point of March 2017. So again, it's going to be very, like I said, very tricky here, because if there's still, and the pound is also vulnerable to all the Brexit talks. So for now, of course, we're going to be very careful. If we see a drop below the 1.2080, then yep, we will target, of course, initially the psychological 120 level, but slightly below there we do have that 119 zone, 119.90, sorry. In terms of the upside here, and let me just jump into a 4-hour chart on this one. In terms of the upside, it's going to be very tricky. So from the short-term perspective, what you could keep an eye on here is, of course, if we do see a push above the yesterday's high here near the 1.2170 zone, if that fails to hold, then yep, the next target for us is going to be around the 1.2250. That's the high of the 31st of July 2019. But if this fails, now this is where it could become a little bit more exciting, because this could in a way lead towards a larger correction here back to this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 3rd of May. So keep your eyes on this one. And the last pair for today, also EURUSD, so be very careful with this one. Of course, we do, like I said, we do have the NFPs. You can see that the pair found good support here near the 110.24 zone that I talked about previously, and now you can see that it pushed higher yesterday, and now it's kind of stuck here. So probably it's going to be waiting for the for the NFPs as well. So if we see a drop below the pivot, today's pivot, which is near the 1.1069 zone, something like that, then in a way we could revisit the yesterday's lows, or even actually go a little bit further towards the psychological 110 zone. But if this climbs back above the 1.11 area and pushes above the, let's say, 1.1125, then yep, we will aim for this downside line initially, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do after. Okay guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me later on at my traders tea time, that's 13:15 GMT, so we should be already up after the release of the NFPs, and we'll see how the market has reacted. I'll keep some of these pairs just to see how they've performed, and see how if we got it right or not. Okay, thank you very much, and bye bye.